Deloise Lorraine Whitman, grandmother white sea turtle, and president of Native Women Association of Canada. I come to you from Mi'kma'ki, the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Today, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit more. I come from a family of chiefs. My grandfather was chief of Bear River First Nation community. My father was chief of Gluskap First Nation community. My sister had been chief of Gluskap First Nation, and my younger brother is now presently chief of Gluskap First Nation. As I have said, I'm from a family of 14, 7 brothers, 6 sisters, and each of my family members work in different diversities with the Indigenous people in Mi'kma'ki. So I'm pleased to be able to welcome all of you students that are attending Acadia this year and to our beautiful province of Mi'kma'ki.
So Lorraine, can you give us a little bit of your role as the president of Native Women's Association of Canada?
Certainly. We have been in existence for over 47 years. The role that I partake is on a local, a national, and international level. I work with 13 PTMAs. They're known as President Territorial Members Associate that sit on our national board. At NWAC, I advocate for the rights and defend the rights of the First Nation women from coast to coast to coast. And the Indigenous women, I should say, it's First Nation, it's Métis, and it's the Inuit, and it's the women, girls, and gender diverse people that I work for. And I've been elected, by the women of the national organization.
Do you guys have a book on calls for justice to be put out to for people to read, and maybe we could get some at Acadia for our new students to read?
Certainly. I know that, just to give a bit of background, we had our Sisters in Spirit that's been well over 13 years. But in that whole process with Sisters in Spirit, it evolved into a national inquiry known as a National Inquiry of Missing Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Out of this report that had been taken down by the commissioners. Commissioner Miriam Buller was a very intricate part to this whole national inquiry. There were 231 calls for justice. And these are the recommendations from this inquiry. And the findings of this inquiry stated that it was a genocide of the Indigenous people. And when we look back at our history, it certainly is a genocide. It happened then, but it's still existing today. There is racism, discrimination in all of the institutions, whether it be with the RCMP, the justice, even in the government system, in the healthcare system. We see it with George Escoban. And we're continually seeing it. We're seeing more trafficking. We're seeing violence escalate. And COVID-19 certainly has not helped this issue at all. The violence has gone up due to the pandemic, and we have a lot of work to do, but we need to work together with all of our parties, with all of our partnerships, not just partnerships, but we need allies. And that means we need allies in the government, not telling us what to do, but us being at the tables and being part of this solution, because without us at the table, there will be no resolution at all. We need to be there because the story needs to be told by us. I had just heard from an inspirational young lady, my grandniece Lily Beth, and the work that she's doing, and the leadership role of such a young girl and what she's doing. How inspiring is this that she's been there, given her first drum at the age of 5. She's a dancer, she's a singer, and she's at the forefront. And this is what we need to work with our youth so that this whole bit of evolution for our women, that our women go back to where we once were with the matriarchal lineage being there, because we have been taken out of the picture since colonialism has been taking place in this country of Canada.
So, Lorraine Whitman, how could I get a copy, or some of the students at Acadia get a copy of this calls for action?
That's an excellent question, Darlene, and I appreciate it. We at NWAC, we provide this calls of justice book, um, calls of action. In the very back, you will see a postcard. And this is to be sent and signed in to our prime minister for the government to sincerely look at the calls for justice. There's 231 of them, and they need to be responsible and accountable for what's happened to the Indigenous people across Canada. So you can receive these. You can go into our NWAC site. It's nwac.ca, and you can ask for some of these books, or you could email me at lwhitman, WHITMAN, at nwac.ca, and we can send some of these books out for your students so that they can read, or even some of the professors that you work with at Acadia. They're available, and please make sure that you mention to sign their name so that the government is accountable for their actions, and we need the support of everyone. So thank you for mentioning that, Darlene.
I know the big news, the good news at Acadia, they'll be holding orange T-shirt day and a Maui Omi for 4 days with the Sacred Fire, and closing it on the October 4th with Sisters in Spirit. So I'm really hoping that you can attend this day or even one of those days at Acadia so that the students can meet you or the students can ask you questions. I find with the Mi'kmaq people, storytelling is the most important, one of our most important traditions, and people learn from storytelling.
Exactly. Storytelling has always been in our life. We didn't always write things down. We did use symbols. We also did the petroglyphs. And if anyone goes to Ketchimakujik National Park, you'll see some of our petroglyphs there. The Bedford Bears, you'll see some of the petroglyphs there. But the storytelling has always been an intricate part. And we have such beautiful storytellers. And our elders tell us stories. That's why it's so important that our elders be part of our community and to draw them in, because although they may not have a degree, a piece of paper behind them, they certainly have the education component of hundreds of years that's passed on from generation to generation. And our youth need to be there, and we need to be there so these stories be passed on.